Good morning. So, as you guys know, there was another mass shooting yesterday. I think that was the first one we've had in quite a while, actually. I've been following the mass shootings here and there, and I think that except for that shooting, no, I'm wrong. The shooting in Jersey was when I was working for Samaritan's Purse. That was back like December, November, something like that time. Cause I was going to work when it happened. I was like driving to work when I was listening to it at work. I sat in my car. I wanted to hear it because it was bad, man. Police was like, oh, they're shooting the Bearcat, shooting the Bearcat, and I don't think a lot of police plan to be like when they do the drills and stuff with the Bearcats and all that. I don't think they actually expect to take fire. It's like I wouldn't wear a vest, but I don't plan to get shot in the vest. It's very a little scary, and nobody I work with even knew about that. See, these are the people that love Trump. These are the people. You don't know what's going on. They're not paying attention. And so they're like, yeah, America's great. America's always been great. What's the big deal? If you live in an absence of knowledge and absence of information, then I guess that's the attitude that you'll have all the time because you don't know any better. You don't know about climate change. You don't know about anything. Hey, because everything's great, right? This shooting they had recently in Milwaukee, this guy shot 5 people at factories, got fired. It just brought home to me something I was thinking about yesterday. I've talked about it before, about how this thing get really bad. And I spoke about how maybe, see some people don't realize when I talk about these pandemics and stuff. People don't think that it'll happen or the odds are very low. They don't understand something. I want to be very clear. This doesn't have to be a 100% killer, okay? Hopefully that never happens. This doesn't have to be a 100% killer. This doesn't have to kill 10%. But if you got a disease that knocks out 10% of the workers right now, of the people that make this world run, you've got a problem. And as it grows, and you have, package I'm waiting for, US Post Service, I'm sorry. As this thing gets worse and worse, and it gets out of control, you need ventilators, and you need all this equipment, and starts running out, you're going to be in trouble. See, the way capitalism's set up is that when things are good, things are good. But when things are bad, things get really bad. I spoke before about how people in China quarantining for like weeks on end. I don't know how they survive. Like, I'm being serious. I don't know how they survive that. You know what I mean? This thing happened like during the holidays, right? So I'm just making the point. This is a completely unexpected event. This is one of the worst times. I think that's why a lot of people, present that notion that maybe this was some sort of a bioweapon that was released on purpose. Because just the time that it happened, it's like, damn, like horrible timing. You know what I mean? Horrible timing for it to be released. Because everybody was traveling and all that stuff. That was it's a really bad time for it to have happened. Because, you're traveling, people are spending money, so you don't really have the money to be stored up somewhere for weeks on end. And now we're here in the quarantine of, what was it? I think this woman got quarantined, and on the 14th day, on the last day, she showed symptoms. And they had to put it back. My dad's like, oh, that's a fluke. No, it's not. That shows you that this disease is mutating. It's not a fluke. That's not how science works, man. You don't blow things. Well, it's a fluke. It doesn't fit my idea. That's not how infectious science works. I know that. It doesn't fit my idea of it. I think people like my dad, I don't know if it's fear that, hey, I can't do anything about this. This is beyond my scope. This is beyond my wheelhouse. I was looking at MSNBC this morning, and they've been talking about it pretty late. Roland Martin's talking about it pretty late. It's been going on for almost a month and a half, and you're just not talking about this. And people on MSNBC were like, oh, well, stop scaring people. About 1%, no one's died in America. They had like 9 people die in Iran in 3 days. It's like 40, 50 people sick. And someone in the government is sick over there. They're having people, one of the dudes that runs the hospital over there in China just died. What the fuck are you talking about? And the thing is mutating. People are closing borders. And all you can say is nobody in America has died? You fucking stupid. You've got states like Florida saying they're not going to tell you when this thing spreads. They're not going to tell you who they're testing. Don't you get it? Even if they have it, you won't know. That's the point. That's my problem with liberals. It's just this idea that I'm going to wait for someone to tell me something. I just like, by the time they do, it's too late, baby. Haven't you seen Contagion? It's too late. I keep thinking about buying that movie, but I keep feeling like halfway through I might turn it off because it's terrifying how close to reality it was. There was a scene where this woman, she was a scientist for the CDC, and she went over there to help these people, and people kidnapped her because their whole village was sick. That kind of stuff. Yeah, one time I thought that was so bad. Now it's like, dude, I would do the same thing. If my family was in here sick, and I could get a hold of a doctor from the health HHS, I'm putting my gun on them. Straight up. I'm pulling some John Q shit. And I tell the police that. If my family was sick, if someone I love was sick, and you know, and they're lying to us and all this kind of stuff, and not being honest, and say that happens, God forbid, I might have to put my gun on somebody, and I wouldn't hurt them. And if they tried to run, I wouldn't shoot them. But I think she ended up like respecting that. There's a lot of white folks that wouldn't. They would hate him for that. But no, that was really the only way they knew. See, one thing about the West and all this aggression is that the world sees America as an aggressive empire, right? Which it is. And so they're like, okay, if the West runs around with a gun, maybe we should do. That's really what 20 years of war has done. That's what has happened, is that people see America less as a legitimate entity and more of just a force of imperialism, of collapsing, deteriorating empire with this army, with the Ottoman Empire, with army on the world's doorstep. I keep saying that. That's it. That's what he's explaining. And that's something that's going to continue. So if you respond to everybody with violence, like I told a friend of mine, with the stuff Trump does, threatening people and attacking Iran and attacking uniformed members of their government, you should expect violence in return. I'm surprised we haven't been attacked yet, but I'm glad they haven't, because that would give Trump what he needs. But if they did do something, I wouldn't even blink. I like the fact that their president over there said, when they say death to America, they're not talking about the American people. And I know a lot of Americans didn't see that. I put that on my Facebook. I put that on my messenger. You know, because I just thought it was so key. I thought it was so important to have that, because my war is now. I'm not at war with any Chinamen. I don't hate no Chinese people. No, I don't. I'm a working man. I'm trying to live. I take Chinese extracts. I take Hold on a second. I take Go-To Cola. I don't know if you can see that. I take Go-To Cola. And I take bladder rat, which is just basically seaweed. It's not, I shouldn't say cheap, but it's probably like one of the lower forms of seaweed. And I take that, I take the Oceans Alive as well. That's like a higher form. That's phytoplankton. So it's just life. This is a European thing here, periwinkle. And I take olive leaf. Yeah, I mean, I don't have no war with no Chinaman. I'm taking his herbs. I'm not at war with no Chinaman. like Snowden said, that's our biggest trading partner. We're not at war. Our people are not at war with them. We're dealing with an empire that's constantly at war and constantly threatening people. And Trump didn't start that. Trump just, I think what Trump is really, and I'm going to get back on subject with what my beginning premise was. Trump represents the worst fears that Snowden had. In his interview he did, last one, he might have done more recently, but one of the last ones I saw, he spoke about how, they were like, what's the danger? What's the future? He said the danger is you get a president that wants to expand all these powers by order of magnitude, and that he's going to start abusing it. It'll be turnkey tyranny. And I think that Snowden wasn't political. I look back at him and I didn't get that vibe. Like I think he talked about he was a liberal, but I don't think that he was really like like a Glenn Greenwald. No. Or he's gonna be on what's my girl I like so much? He's not gonna be on Max Blumenthal's show. He's not gonna be on any of those shows. That's not gonna happen. He's not an activist. I think he really believed in democracy for what it stands as a value. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you have some people who just talk about democracy. You have some people who get out in the streets with the boots on. Max Blumenthal is one of them. That's why they charged him with that embassy thing, tried to charge him up and file felony charges and raided his house and all that stuff. All it got dropped. It's all bullshit. It's all designed to intimidate him. I've heard that stuff before where they'll put a warrant on you. Like they'll be like, your court case will be next month. And you'll go home and they'll put a warrant out on you like that night. I've heard of stuff like that with black people. I've heard that for years, and I always thought that was BS. And then I sent back to him, they SWAT teamed his house for a little misdemeanor warrant. That's what that is. It's intimidation. That isn't about law. That's just and when they run up in there like that, hey man, you could be killed. You know, there've been people who have been killed. But I'm getting off subject. That's what Trump represents to me. He represents someone who took over an institution that was already dangerous. And honestly, when Bernie gets elected, what Trump has done, shutting the government down and everything, I hope Bernie does the same thing. I hope Bernie says, you know what? Climate change. Boom. I hope he does. I hope he abuses everything Trump set up. I really do. That's what conservatives have done. They have set up a situation where we can do that now. Going back to the point I was trying to make. With the coronavirus, we don't have time. I'm reading about filters. I got a respirator. I go by my storage unit one of these days. I got a respirator and all that stuff. I don't have any filters for it. I gotta find it. I've got that's a respirator I've shown you guys before. There we go. It's I think it's N95 mask. But then I'm hearing that this stuff is really not good enough. And the guy I was looking at, he had a P100 mask. I don't know how it's better. P100 mask, from what I understand, is just to get like the oil. Like when I was delivering gas, I guess I would have used that. I used to use these little, I have these great, they're like charcoal filters. And they're N95s. I don't want to use them until the last minute. I've got this. I love this little thing. It's funny because all the videos I've watched, because I went and downloaded a bunch of videos on how to use this, are white. And mine is purple. I like it. I like the color, but I don't know why. It's like a limited edition. I need to buy some more filters and other stuff like that. They actually have one that's got charcoal on the inside of it. Like, I guess to prevent odors. Obviously the difference is charcoal when exposed to the air goes bad after a while, whereas these are just paper filters. Kind of like your HEPA filters, kind of like with, there's something like this. There's something like these kind of filters you'd put in like your furnace. They gave me a new one to change out what's it called? I don't use my heater very often, or my air. I don't. I use my air, yeah, but I don't use my heater very often because just don't working out all the time. Doing push-ups and stuff. Got a little portable heater or whatever. Anyway, that's basically what these are. And I'm worrying if these will stop the coronavirus. I think this is, by some estimates, below 0.3 ppm, parts per million. Years ago, when I got off the road, I was reading about diesel exhaust and just exposure to diesel exhaust. That's why I don't ride on my truck. And things like that, things of that nature, of that type of effect. And so I kind of knew what that meant, parts per million. Yeah. I want to get a clean space too. It's like $600, $700. That filters out everything. And the beautiful thing about that is when you stop breathing in it, it stops. Doesn't get anything else. It doesn't pick up anything else. As soon as you take it off, it stops. People I've been looking at have been following filters and stuff. And they've been putting videos out there about, like, hand sanitizer running out. I had a bunch of it in here. I've got a big bottle in my backpack that I've been using. I've got wipes. I've actually got a few here now. I got this one's almost empty. But I got another one smaller than this. It's just got that. Got it in my backpack in the car. Along with that big bottle of hand sanitizer, I got 2 bottles here. I ain't even opened that one yet. I want to show you guys something important. Alright. Good. Check it out. This is what I bought when I was delivering gas at Eagle. 9600 N95 VOV, 10 respirators. I've used a couple of them here. It actually has NIOSH on it. It's 95. Yeah. I've got like 4 or 5 of them in there. I've got one up here. Yeah. Hope I don't have to use these. I don't want to use these. If I had the money, I would just, I don't know if I'd buy more of these or if I'd buy the other ones, but this thing kind of hit me. I've got food saved up, but I don't really have enough money to be doing that right now. I just don't. My budget to be buying filters and stuff. Because if I did, that's what I'd be doing right now. The Amazon's like selling hand sanitizer for $30 a bottle. This is getting serious. When you start doing that, the hoarding is beginning. Yeah. And that's where I want to go with this video here. That shooting in Milwaukee brought home a very important point. We're at war in this country. I want you to hear me very clearly. My brother, he believes climate change is going to happen in his daughter's time. I don't believe it. We're in climate change right now. It's all around you. Look at the weather. 70 degrees in fucking January. It's February and I'm walking around with short sleeves on at night. We didn't have a winter. Not really. It was like some of it was in December, but fall. I mean, we had some days where it was sleet. We had some days where it was like cold rain. But we get cold rain during the summertime sometimes. Yeah, you get cold rain during the summertime sometimes. Once in a while, it'll get down about the 50s, which isn't really cold. Get down like the 50s or something. That wind. Yeah, that wind. That's one good thing about the South. I've got equipment for cold weather, like up north cold weather. But for me, Tone Talks is talking about Corona? Oh, shit. Tone Talks is a brother. He goes into a lot about black wealth and the lack of thereof of black wealth. He gets into that. I kind of listened to him for a while. A lot of these guys are pro-black. They're not really talking about this stuff because this is not, what's it called? To see Tone Talks, Roland Martin talking about climate change, talking about coronavirus, is terrifying. Because It's almost like when I look at my news, my information from YouTube and other sources, it filters down. And certain events might happen. It takes a while for people to get it. But when they get it, it's serious. Because they don't talk about that. Yeah, Tone Talks doesn't talk about these kind of things. He doesn't. So for him to talk about it, it's pretty serious. But you make a subject. My brother, my family members don't think it's serious. My dad thinks. I don't think I say that it's serious. I think my dad is a broken man. I think he's very angry inside. He's gone through a lot with his wife and being, he's pretty much laid down for the last 18, 19, 20 years. And he just thinks all men are supposed to be broken by their women like that. And I look at him and I'm like, no. I guess he thinks it's weak to not have a wife and have kids. I look at the way his wife treats him and I'm like, I don't want that. My life isn't perfect by any means. I like my solitude. I have not gotten tired of this yet. Sometimes I think about it's all this is for my life, but I don't feel lonely. I'm not looking for that. If it happens, it happens. I'm not looking for that. We look at life differently in that way. That he thinks that it's all about having a family and getting with someone that beats the hell out of you. And for me, it's like, no. I'd rather keep what I got in my pocket. I'm good. Not saying I don't have friends and family, because I do, but it's just that, no. So my dad's broken, and he's got issues. He doesn't talk about issues. A lot of those guys, people that age, don't talk about it. Black men don't talk about their problems. So you don't know his problems, and he'll just blow up at me. You don't care about anybody. You don't care. I'm just like, whoa. Like, I mean, that happens. We'll be talking, and he'll just blow up. You don't care about nobody but yourself. I'm like, woo. I guess I don't. Don't shoot. Yeah, it's like, sometimes he does that because he's a broken man. He's a broken man, and that's what broken people do. They respond with rage because really they have no power and they know it. So it blows me off when I talk about coronavirus and tells me I'm not a part of this and all this. That's crazy because the government doesn't care about us. You know that as a black man. So then why don't you take this seriously knowing that? Why don't you recognize that knowing that you've got to do what you can to protect yourself? I don't comprehend that. Like I don't understand. I don't understand that. Just don't. Doesn't make sense. My brother is kind of similar. They don't really get it. They don't really care about it. And that's okay. It's okay. They're living in a state that the state's telling you they're not going to tell you who they're testing. They're saying, we're hearing now that a lot of the testers are faulty. The only ones that are good are Nebraska, California, and Illinois. That's it. And you're talking about there's 0% deaths. Well, they're not testing anybody, so how would you know? This is like me saying to you, nobody at work told me I did anything wrong. And then you look at it, I didn't ask anybody. You know what I mean? It's like a police officer never getting complaints, but he doesn't spend any time on the streets to get complaints. Or he spends very little time on the streets to get complaints. It's like a football player not getting hurt, but he spends like half the season on the bench. Do you see where I'm going with this? If you're not in the game, you're not going to know. This is serious business. Going back to my earlier premise, we're at war right now. And if you had 2% of the population, whatever, get sick, God knows how many cops get sick, you could have some real trouble in this country because these people are looking for a reason to start a war. They really are. That's what I see. You may not agree. That's what I see. I see people that they're looking to start a war. By any means. They're looking for any reason to start a war. And, and so I what I'm saying to you is we're not on level ground as a country. We're watching. I just read something about how you had people at that rally in Richmond that were going to go out there with explosives and act like people were getting shot at so they would start shooting at each other and start trouble. All the conservative outlets ignored that. You didn't hear any conservative outlets talk about that. that the FBI did that. You didn't hear about that. I spoke previously with you guys before about how as I get older, I'm beginning to have a somewhat of a budding respect for law enforcement, because I realize that we're dealing with a psychopathic society. We're looking at people that are losing control of this country, and they're angry, and they're willing to commit acts of violence. And in some ways, our only protection is law enforcement. I never thought I would say that. I never thought in my lifetime I'd ever feel like that, but it is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. These are dangerous times. And so even if this doesn't get really bad, but a lot of people out of work or something like that happens, you have some sort of an interruption in services, then you could really you could have some trouble out here. And that's the point I'm trying to get to y'all. You know, that's the point I want to get, is that it's not just a pandemic. Hopefully it dies off. They're saying that a vaccine's over a year off, and Trump's lying about that. I mean, I keep going back to this, is if he lies about these things, what else is he lying about? I always go back to that. You know, he's not a trustworthy person. We're dealing with people. Rush Limbaugh is one of them who are trying to make Trump and the Trump regime. What it is they want, it's like Obama. They want Trump to win so badly that they'll lie for him, no matter what he does. Even when they know the things he's doing and saying don't make sense, they'll lie for him. It's almost like, for Trump supporters, they're almost like co-defendants. They are. They're like co-defendants in a way, because of what Trump represents. This very racist, very homophobic, very sexist, very bigoted ideology out here that only America matters, no one else counts. We made America, fuck everybody else, fuck our European allies. Laughing about hanging out with fascists, laughing about hanging out with people who are tyrants, laughing about violence to people. I mean, that's what, you ever see this stuff when they talk about we should be doing this to Antifa? That's where that comes from. I talk often about how governments, it isn't just what a government says, it's what they don't say. I say that often. It isn't just what they say, but they don't say sometimes. We know that these guys, these tyrants, are willing to use violence against their people. Time Union Square, things like that. We know this. Trump hanging out with them and making jokes about I could be president forever and stuff, like floating those ideas and joking about it. People pick that up. His supporters pick that up, and they're like, hey, you know, maybe he can be. Or maybe we should be a despotic government. You know, it's crazy to see InfoWars and InfoWars supporters go from, we shouldn't have poison in the water, we shouldn't have abortion, we shouldn't have population control, we shouldn't have eugenics, and go from that to say, hey, we should have that, but let's put it on the blacks, let's put it on the gays, let's put it on the illegals. I actually saw a guy on the MSNBC comments in his video this morning talking about how they need to put it all throughout California, let it eat up California, so we can get the country, we can get the state back. Wow. That's sick, man. California is a state in America, and you want to cause a pandemic to spread in that state so you can politically get power back? That shows me how weak you are. I'm gonna start there, because I'm not sure people would have said that 20 years ago. I'm not sure you would have found anybody in America, unless you some nut, who would come out and say something like that. That's pretty crazy. Second of all, when you start a pandemic in a major populated area like LA or Sacramento or whatever, that thing can spread. There's things called airports. There's flights that go across the country every day, guys. Every day, flights that go around the world, connecting flights. Yes. So while you're trying to kill them, you wind up killing your own self. But that's how devils think, and I don't want to spend too much time on it. But that's just that's your Trump supporters. It's like there was a guy that was, I was coming home from Boone, coming back from that job I did, Community Church and Commercial Purse. This guy was on a Christian radio station. He was talking about how we should have another mass shooter to distract from the Senate investigation, House impeachment trial. And I'm like, what? That shows me how weak you guys are. Because it used to be conservatives were the party of law and order and justice, and now they're openly calling for acts of violence to distract from a legal, a political, legislative procedure. It's their duty to investigate evidence. It's their duty to push for impeachment if that exists, if there are charges that exist that demand impeachment proceedings. You know, and you want people, and then he's like, I hope nobody dies. What? First of all, when you have a mass shooting or something like that, there's no telling. You know, because bullets ricochet. I'm not sure you've ever heard of that. Sometimes bullets go through walls and hit people. I'm not sure you've ever heard of that. Yeah. Sometimes things happen. People shoot guns up in the air and the bullet come down and hits people. Yeah, that happens. You ever heard of that? So, what he said was reckless. Completely reckless. That guy, I'm almost to the point where I feel like people who do that should go to jail. Or should be investigated by the FBI thoroughly. I mean, they should open an and people be like, what, free speech? I've come to realize that when white folks say that, you know what they're really saying? You know what white men are saying when they say free speech? Whether it be that guy calling for mass shootings, or people who go on the radio and make racist comments, or Roseanne Reese. When they do that, what they're basically saying is, look, they're not fighting for inclusion. They're not fighting for a better world, a more fair, more just society. They're not fighting for the future. They're not. They're fighting, white people are fighting for the right to be as racist as they want to be every goddamn day. Period. I don't care if you like it. I don't care if you don't. That is what they're really saying there, bro. You are basically saying that. You are saying that, hey, you know, these niggas don't matter. I'm going to say it I want. And that's why they go out here and they get crazy. And they want to go out and act crazy and get violent. Is because they can't be racist anymore. That's really what it's about. They can't be racist. They can't be nasty. And they're angry about it. They're not. This isn't about political free speech, okay? And they take this 100 miles. They take something, they run 100 miles with it. This is not about free speech. This is about, we're living in a very dangerous time. We're having mass shooters out here. We have terrorism going on. And you're saying things that may inflame terrorism. We had a shooting in Germany a little while ago. They're talking about this. I mean, and one thing that gets me white folks, they really don't get that. These rednecks out here. They I work with a guy like that. They really don't get that having all these mass shootings, there will be a response. Like, you don't want red flag laws. What do you want? You want people to just let the kids keep dying? What you want? What do you want? And the only response I get is they want to have, I guess they want to have the old Wild West, everybody carrying rifles, and I guess what they want. Everybody to be carrying a rifle on the street. Everybody have M16 on their back, like they in Israel or something. That's what they want. I mean, they want a militarized society, and I think that a lot of us want to move beyond that. This militarism, this constant war. I think a lot of us want to move beyond that stage as a society, and that's what the Caucasians are angry about. That's what I see when I hear stuff like that about free speech and all that. No, it's not really free speech. It's just you want to have the right to be racist. You want to have the right to be as racist as you want, and to just walk up to people at the store and tell them to speak English. You want to have, it's a nativist ideal. Not about free speech. It's about, I can shoot you, but you can't shoot at me. That's what the Caucasians really saying. But I'm just making a point that we're at war right now. We've been at war for a long time. And that we've got to understand that if we are to deal with these issues that we face, you know, we've got to understand that if you had a lot of cops get sick, or you had command staff get sick, these people could take over. That's why this stuff about black folks hugging white supremacists. I don't think that's wise. These people are already at war with us. That's why they move out to Shelby and places like that. Because they want to get away from your black asses. That's the point. You're trying to love on them, be lovey-dovey. No, dude. Not saying people walk around with rifles and guns. I don't think any black person would do that. I don't think we have that. Like, I think the Caucasian is always trying to prove something. Like open carrying pistols. There was a guy that went into Walmart with M16. Then he went to Subway with M16 on his back. I mean, it's just the Caucasian is always trying to prove something all the time. I've done videos. I get tired of that. Sometimes I'm just going home. Sometimes I'm just going to the store. Sometimes I'm literally just going to do something. And I'm, with them, it's just always ideology, because they're losing. And that goes back to calling for mass shootings to distract from the impeachment. If you believe that Trump didn't do it, if you believe it's faulty, then why do you need a distraction? I'll leave you there.